Sky Sports, with Ford Escort, takes you to the heart of the action.
Hello there. On Goals on Sunday, your chance to catch up with all yesterday's action in the Premiership. The entertainers step out to take on Liverpool at St James's Park, going for 7 wins in a row against the rejuvenated Reds. Just behind Newcastle in the Premiership come Shearer, Sutton and co. Blackburn faced Aston Villa at Ewood Park. Despite all the glamour and all the goals, Spurs have paid the penalty more than once this season. Yesterday, they were at home to third-place Nottingham Forest, and it's not getting any better for Spurs. All yesterday's action coming up, including the 5-goal thriller at Portman Road. It's Ipswich against Man U. Well, only 9 games played yesterday and some superb action coming up over the next 90 minutes. And here to enjoy it with me is Chelsea's Dennis Wise. Good 3 points for you yesterday, Dennis.
Yes, we done very well yesterday. That's what we need to do. Away from home, we need to pick up the points, and we picked up 3. I was pleased with it.
Excellent stuff. We'll talk more about that later. And, of course, a welcome return to Bob Mills with his lighter approach towards the game we all love. What have you spotted today, then, Bob?
Just a couple of things that we'll be looking at. We'll be having an in-depth look at the heroes of Trelleborg. I've got a list of all their part-time jobs. That'll be good. And we'll be finding out also, for the coming European clashes, the big question on really everybody's lips. Where exactly is Victoria Shishkov?
And the man who knows the answer sitting right beside you.
Somewhere.
Somewhere in Europe, apparently. Is it?
And can you pronounce it?
No.
All right, more from you guys later on, thanks. And straight on to the action now. And where better to start than with the present league leaders Newcastle at home to Liverpool. Kevin Keegan was a busy man yesterday. Before a ball was kicked, he completed the signing of Derby County's Paul Kitson. More about that later on. Well, then it was time to rally his troops to face his old club, Liverpool. At the expense of Jamie Redknapp, Phil Babb came in to start his first match for the Reds. Your commentator's Martin Taylor.
The brilliant Irishman Ken Doherty won the regal Scottish Masters title last year. This year, he's aiming for a repeat. One problem, his opponent, the world champion, Stephen Hendry. The final, Sky Sports 2, 1:30.
Tea, Mr. Friend.
Thank you very much indeed, Miss Walker, so kind. And news just in from Sky.
There's no turning back.
Have a cup of tea, Anna.
People, have you heard? Did you get the word? Ryan shaking up TV. It's on Sky, gonna make you smile. No turning back, gonna drive you wild.
Here's my subscription to Sky. I am never going to subscribe to Sky TV.
I can't say I'm sorry to hear that.
You got the power, nothing to lose. This is your ticket, your freedom to choose. Sky is gonna lift you up, ain't gonna give you control.
We've got Sky.
No turning back,
Now I tend to watch Sky One.
no turning back. What you need,
That's right.
it's on Sky. What you want, we got it. No turning back.
It's on Sky.
Read my lips. No turning back. What's turning back? One day we'll watch Sky on beaches.
The ladies, not a turn.
You're gonna get it your way.
I am now going to insert my viewing card.
No turning back, gonna give you what you want. No turning back, what you need. It's on Sky, what you want. We got it, no turning back.
It's on Sky.
You guys crack me up.
league leaders Newcastle held to a draw at home to Liverpool, and that gave the early season chasing pack a chance to catch up. Well, Blackburn started the day in second position, 4 points behind Newcastle. Prior to the match at home to Aston Villa, manager Kenny Dalglish warned that just because we've scored 10 goals in our last 3 games doesn't mean that this match will go the same way. Well, Villa boss Ron Atkinson had his own selection problems going into this match, and I'm sure with an eye on their midweek clash at home to Inter Milan in the UEFA Cup. The commentator is Ian Dark. Well, there's lots more to come here on Goals on Sunday, including 2 amazing matches between Ipswich and Man United and Spurs against Nottingham Forest. And there's plenty more to come on Sky Sports this afternoon. At 3 o'clock, exclusively live, it's Super Sunday action from Upton Park. A London derby to savour, West Ham against Arsenal. At 7 o'clock, it's 1-to-1. Charles Colville interviews cricketer Mike Gatting about England's tour of Australia, and Gatting also talks about his controversial career. At 7:30, the big league coming your way with Eddie and Steve-O, Doncaster against Warrington. And on Sky Sports 2, some great snooker coming from Motherwell, the Scottish Masters and its final day. The first session begins at 1:30, exclusively live, Stephen Hendry versus Ken Doherty. It's the San Marino round of the Superbike from Mugello, where Britain's Carl Fogarty will be looking to increase his lead in the championship. That's at 5 o'clock, and all the action from races 1 and 2. And we're back to Fir Park in Motherwell at 7 o'clock to see the final session between Stephen Hendry and Ken Doherty for the Scottish Masters Championship. So there's plenty of live sport coming up on Sky today. Lots more action coming on Goals on Sunday as well from yesterday's Premiership matches. Let's go to our first goals roundup now, starting in the Midlands with Coventry at home to Southampton.
The live international show jumping from Glasgow continues today at 1:30 on Sky Sports.
You did have a record. I mean, you did admit having sexual encounters on Wimbledon Common. Have you ever become involved in it yourself? Crack and cocaine and what have you?
I think you know very well I have. If you believe that, you would believe a lot of nonsense, but I'm sure you don't believe it.
It's not as if I raped him on the train or made improper suggestions.
Time television put some useful purpose, I've always felt it.
Little John, a show with attitude. Weeknights on Sky News.
Next up on Goals on Sunday, it's Spurs against Nottingham Forest. And don't forget, more great football action is coming your way on Sky Sports. The action continues this afternoon in the London derby between West Ham and Arsenal at Upton Park. And that Super Sunday starts at 3 o'clock. It's exclusively live. Likewise, on Monday night, this time a Yorkshire derby between Sheffield Wednesday and Leeds United. The gossip mongers are out at Hillsborough, but Trevor Francis will be hoping for a victory to silence the mystery mole. The action starts at 7 o'clock. And now we're off to White Hart Lane for Spurs against Nottingham Forest. After successive league defeats, Spurs scored 6 midweek away to Watford, but the League Cup victory was soured by the fact that they also conceded 3. Well, Aussie's dream start to the season has now turned into one of inconsistency for his team. Georgios Popescu made his home debut yesterday against promoted Nottingham Forest, yet to be beaten in this season's Premiership. Peter Brackley is your commentator. Well, we'll have a look at that match in a lot more detail with Bob and Dennis in just a moment. First, let's confirm all of yesterday's results in the Premiership. Blackburn 3, Aston Villa 1, Coventry 1, Southampton 3, Crystal Palace 0, Chelsea 1, Everton 1, Leicester 1, a late equaliser for Mark Draper. Ipswich 3, Manchester United 2, 2 goals for Paul Mason and a debut league goal for United's Paul Scholes. Niall Quinn on the score sheet as Man City beat Norwich 2-0. And Newcastle, well, their 100% record is gone as they draw with Liverpool. QPR 0, Wimbledon 1, the Crazy Gang notching their first away victory of the season. And Tottenham with that dismal defeat at home to Nottingham Forest, losing 4-1. So, this is how the Premiership table stands. Despite their draw, Newcastle are still on top, closely followed by Blackburn and Nottingham Forest. After yesterday's defeat away to Ipswich, Man United find themselves 6 points off the top. Down at the bottom, Everton still without a victory are bottom. Likewise, Crystal Palace with 4 draws are just above them. West Ham and Arsenal play this afternoon, but it's worrying for Spurs at the moment. With 6 points to be deducted, they would in fact be second from bottom. David Kelly with a late winner at Fratton Park ensured victory for Wolves, and that keeps them at the top of Division 1. Middlesbrough beat Bristol City away to keep the pressure on, and Swindon with goals in the 89th and 90th minutes stole 3 points from Grimsby to put them third in the league. West Brom recorded their first victory of the season to climb off the bottom as Notts County drew at home to Charlton. Oxford United is still on top, beating Bob Mills' Leyton Orient in a dramatic encounter at the Manor Ground. Leyton Orient pulled back 2 late goals, and just when they thought they had nicked a point, David Rush scored the winner for Oxford a minute from time. Sorry, Bob. Chester, with only 1 point out of a possible 27, struggle at the bottom along with Bournemouth and Cardiff. Leyton Orient not too far away either. Sorry, Bob. New leaders at the top, with Bury beating Chesterfield and second place Carlisle losing to Northampton. After victory over Man City in the League Cup, Barnet's good fortune continues with a good away victory at Torquay. And Wigan firmly placed at the bottom of Division 3, Hereford and Fulham drawing, and Northampton with their first victory of the season over Carlisle, easing pressure. The Celtics' win over Hibs puts them on top of the Scottish Premiership. Rangers could only draw at Aberdeen. Motherwell drew with Partick 2-2. Well, yesterday there were 26 goals, which is 1 down on the same week last season. 4 of the goals were scored outside the 18-yard area, 15 inside the 18-yard area, and 7 were scored inside the 6-yard box. 21 goals were scored from shots, 5 from headers. Ehiogo of Aston Villa, Ablett from Everton, and Wimbledon's Alan Reeves all scored from set pieces, and there was 1 penalty from Alan Shearer. Bookings, 22 players were booked yesterday, which is up on the same weekend of last season by 7. There were 2 sendings off yesterday, Albert of Newcastle and Wimbledon's Andy Clark. This time last year, there were none. Well, attendances, a total of 192,153, which is slightly down on last season, with an average of 21,350. Again, just a fraction down on last season's weekend average. Now, although he failed to hit the target yesterday, Jurgen Klinsmann still heads the leading scorers with 7 goals, closely followed by the Newcastle duo of Robert Lee and Andy Cole. Alan Shearer and Chris Sutton added 1 each to their tally yesterday to put them all level with 6 goals apiece. With 5 goals each are Robbie Fowler of Liverpool and Paul Walsh of Manchester City. Well, as promised, let's talk about Spurs, shall we? First of all, I'd like to discuss that Sheringham penalty miss, Dennis. Now, as a penalty taker, the pressure must be enormous in situations of taking penalties.
Yeah, it is. It's not hard. It's not easy to take a penalty. It's quite hard because it's quite a pressure situation. You're expected to score, simple as that. And when you've missed 2 penalties before that, then it's even harder. But he struck it well. He's at the target, and it's a good save by the keeper. I think Ozzy won't be too happy. It's the fact that he's missed 3 penalties. That's why he'll be off him, I think.
Yeah, he's decided he's not going to use Sheringham as a penalty taker anymore. I don't know who he's going to use. But, yeah, the pressure must be incredible. Let's just talk a bit about Forest, actually, because it was a terrific victory for them. We shouldn't take anything away from them by saying Spurs weren't playing particularly well.
They've surprised me this year because I honestly thought they wouldn't be where they are. I thought they'd been in the lower part of the Premier League, but they've done extremely well, and I'm pleased for Frank Clark and the way it's gone for him. But they're playing great football and they've got some good players.
4 good goals. Let's look at the 4th one, shall we? Which was scored by Lars Bohinen.
Well, this is a great goal. He's had a bit of luck there, but he's dribbled round the defender, and this is great vision by the lad. He's seen him off his line. It's just tremendous chip. You can't argue with that. It's a quality goal. And he looks a good player.
Frank Clark obviously delighted with their all-round performance. Bob, observations about Spurs?
Well, firstly, just about Forest, because as you know, I'm a huge fan of Frank Clark, because he did learn his trade at Brisbane, right? And that's how we used to play when he was at the Orient. Spurs, what can you say? There's a quote in the News of the World from Ozzy Ardiles, and it's going to be one of the things he wishes he'd never said. He was raging after seeing Tottenham slump to the fix. Their third threatening, they leaked goals. Ardiles was fuming and said, people will be losing their jobs over this. Now, I wonder who that might be. Let's just run through the list of people
Answers
who are
on a
likely to get
postcard.
sacked, shall we? But just finally on the Spurs thing, I must show you this. A friend of mine who's a Spurs fan, because I'm mixed with all kinds of people, has given me this. These are on sale. This is these magic eye things. I don't know if we can see this, but it looks like a series of dots. But apparently, if you concentrate very, very hard and screw your eyes up and focus slightly beyond it, you can actually see a Spurs defender winning a tackle. I can't see it myself, but apparently it is there. It is there. Can I just do
what was Georgie Popescu
one other
have to
thing
say about
quickly
that?
from the paper. It's from the Independent, from one of the broadsheets, which has taken a much more measured look at the situation which you mentioned at Sheffield Wednesday with the dressing room dissent. And apparently Francis is very, very annoyed with it and has said something needs to be sorted out. Someone's trying to throw a spanner in the works. There's nothing worse than having a rat in your camp. Well, if this is your problem, can I just point out that Mr. Ole Severin, who plays for Trelleborg, is actually a vermin terminator. Maybe he's the man to add to your squad there.
Right, I think on that note, well, thank both of you very much. Now, Bob, you're away for the next couple of weeks, but you will be back.
I will be back, yeah. 2 weeks off, and then I'm coming back.
OK, well, have a good break. Thanks very much for joining us, Dennis. You enjoyed it?
Yep, lovely.
Good. Well, nice to see you, and all the best in Europe in midweek.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
OK, thanks very much, guys. So, Newcastle lose their 100% record, but still remain top. Blackburn and Forest keep the pressure on, and Spurs take another tumble. Ipswich provide the surprise result of the day with their victory over the reigning champions Manchester United, but poor Everton still looking for their first victory of the season and remain bottom of the pile. Now, don't forget Sheffield Wednesday versus Leeds United in our Monday night football, but coming up at 3 o'clock this afternoon, it's West Ham United against Arsenal. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll see you again at the same time next week with more Goals on Sunday. Until then, bye-bye.